let it be forgotten, as a fire is forgotten, as a flower is forgotten that one time burnished gold. Let it be forgotten forever and forever. Time is a kind friend. He will make you old. And if anyone should ask, say it was forgotten long, long ago. Like a fire, like a flower, like a footstep is forgotten in a long forgotten snow. People sometimes do not know the value of time. They think they'll live forever, and the word mañana very often enters the conversation. They'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. I have found that if I don't embrace time and use it and do the things I want to do, that tomorrow never comes. So I'm very respectful of it, and I know that that moment will never come again, and to do what is in my heart and to live that moment so I won't regret not having done what I should have done at that time.
What's the best time you've ever had?
Was the best time I think I ever had when I was in a hospital as a gray lady during the war, and there was a kid from Vietnam there. No, he was in the Dieppe raid, and they called and said, "Steve, go up to this kid because he won't stand up. He's crawling on the floor to eat. He's like an animal." And they said, of course, it's a locked ward, so people can't get in and out. Would you feel uncomfortable about it? I said, no. And I went up, and he was crawling on the floor to eat. And so I crawled with him for a whole week. And the day that he stood up and said, "Thank you, Stephanie," was the best time in my life, because I knew I had changed somebody else's life for the better. Well, you know, sometimes in life you luck out, but you can never luck out being a coward. You have to take chances in life. And Ray came from a different world, and I came from a different world. And everyone around me said, "We'll pick up the pieces, Steve." And I'll tell you, the moments that I spent with Ray were the best time of my life. And at his funeral, I think I summed it up best. Every day was Christmas. The relationship with Ray, you've heard that old wheeze, love at first sight. It really was, from my point of view, who was an experienced woman, who had several marriages before Ray's. There was some chemistry that existed from the moment I met him, because his gentleness, his kindness, his respect for humanity of all kinds, I knew we were on the same page. And he exemplified my idea of a hero, because he was my hero, and his words were pearls of wisdom, and I tried to live that way with him, and hopefully I succeeded. And every day, as I said to you, was Christmas. It was beautiful. There was no quarrels about any pettiness or money or anything that surrounded us. And we were giving and taking and giving and taking. Nobody wanted it all. We wanted to share everything. He taught me so much. And I hope that I was instrumental in teaching him a little. We both loved music, we both loved art, we both loved the theater, and of course boxing was a new world to me. And the first time I ever saw a boxing match, I put my hands in front of my eyes because I couldn't see it. It was terrible to me. And the next time I was telling the fighters what to do. So I learned a lot in one round. Asked me about time. There was an ancient wheeze that I heard as a girl that time was fleeting, and it gave me pause, and I thought of my own time and how I spent it. Was I kind enough to take time out to listen to someone who had a problem? Did I take time out to say I loved someone enough? Did I take time out to watch the sunset? Did I take time out to read a poem that I really loved? Did I go to the museum enough to see some of the wonderful, wonderful things that made my life so precious? Did I respect time? Well, I hope it was a life well lived, and I hope that I was kind to time as it was to me, but time will tell. Let it go at that. But I will show you that I'm wearing Ray's batik Philippe at this meeting. which I'm very, very proud of, and I never take it off because I love it so much. But time as such, I was never one that watched a clock, so that's why I'm not answering you in proper terms here, because a watch never meant anything. It never related to time. Time was something that I lived like in a capsule, and the hours went by and the days went by and the years you spend and the tears you spend.
How do you feel about people who waste time?
Well, I think that everyone has to make a judgment for themselves as to what time means to them. If they think it's limitless and they'll do it mañana, they've got a lot to learn. I think each moment is precious and shouldn't be squandered, and to do something with it that will either help someone else or delight your soul. So there.
Would you share with us how many years you've lived?
No.
Why?
Because that's my business and I choose not to.
Okay. Why?
Again, I will repeat that I choose not to, and that's a good enough answer for me. And if you can't accept that answer, I apologize, but I think it's irrelevant. And in my book, age is a number. And sometimes the number is used, sometimes it is abused, but in this case, I don't think it's even relevant. I just hope I've lived a good life and that people have enjoyed me as I have enjoyed them. And when the time comes to say farewell, I hope I do it with grace and intelligence. This may be not the answer you wanted, Arlene, but I'm true to my own thoughts, and that's the answer I'm giving.
And you've seen New York change over time. What's the biggest change that you've seen?
In what area?
In the physical sense.
Well, I mean, there's been an electronic revolution over time. People's values have changed over time. We've become those who have had the privilege of education, have a tolerance toward things that they never had before, and time has mellowed a lot of our thinking, and what we thought at 20, we don't think at 50 anymore. There are too many outside influences that if we think at all, we adjust to the time we're in.
What's the biggest change when you walk outside that you've seen on the streets of New York?
I see a change that I don't like. I see the necessity of people talking into electronic instruments and don't have the courtesy when you get into an elevator to say good morning because they're already hooked up electronically. I see that a certain number of social graces have gone by the wayside, and the person-to-person communication has been lost in the shuffle, and I appreciate all the wonderful things that these times have brought us, but we've also become so involved in Twitters and the like that we forget the humanity, and that to me is sad. But he used his time well. He never, he always had a few Rayisms, which I remember much more specifically, like for people that were always asking why or where or when, he would always say, don't be a district attorney, stop questioning people. If they have anything to say, they'll tell you. And I learned that to be so. Also, I learned from him is to rest is to rust. And all of his Rayisms were so pertinent. I remember someone said to him, well, what do you do to have a fighter lose weight? He said, I tell him to chew, but not to swallow. But he had such great humor, and his Rayisms have stood me in great stead, and I must admit I find myself using them all the time because they're so pertinent. And time is just fleeting, and there's no way of catching up and to use each moment well. And if you've learned that, then you've learned a great deal about time, more than I can ever teach you or explain to you. And each person approaches it differently depending on their age, their position in life, and how much thought they've given to the word itself, because everyone thinks they'll live forever, and it ain't so. The time has come, the walrus said, to speak of many things, of kings and cabbages, and queens and kings. And so I will say, thank you for your time. My time is up. Goodbye.